The time is just gone 10 minutes to 10 as we head towards closure this morning, and we are now talking about new smoking laws for South Africa are coming. And at this point in time, they are open for public comment, where the Portfolio Committee on Health has opened the Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery Systems Control Bill for public comment. Submissions are on the way. They started on the 21st of June right until the 4th of August. The question is, will smoking ever be the same in South Africa? But more importantly, how is this likely to impact on the tobacco industry? We're joined by the CEO at the Tobacco, Alcohol and Gambling Advisory and Action Group, Peter Ucko. Peter, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Right, Peter, let's just talk briefly. This bill, the new smoking law, smoking will never be the same in South Africa. And just before we get to the impact of this bill, just an overview as to what this bill is about and what is it trying to promote.
Well, what it's trying to promote is better health. What the bill is about is, for example, introducing what we call standardized packaging. So that'll be plain packaging with no branding, standard designs, and no branding colors. It'll have graphic health warnings and other messages, because it's not only warnings, so that pictures will tell the story rather than words. The idea is to tell the truth about the harms of tobacco products. The idea is also to ban displays at retail and wholesale levels, because displays are forms of advertising. All those things need to be brought under control. And it now, most importantly, also introduces control over electronic delivery systems of nicotine and non-nicotine products. All these flavors and exotic things that entice the children to start smoking. What do we say when we want smoking never to be the same again? What we actually want is smoking to be zero. That's the ideal situation. Of course, that's not going to happen in our lifetime, but we're close to getting there. And in some places in America and other parts of the world, cities and states have introduced a program that they call the Tobacco End Game, where really there would be hopefully zero tobacco production, zero tobacco use, and we'll have a far healthier population and far fewer premature deaths, and some of them agonizing deaths.
Yes. Now we know that the tobacco industry is huge. It's a massive industry right across the entire world, and also in South Africa. And looking at it, right from the agricultural perspective, tobacco farming, and right through the entire process, the manufacturing, the supply chain is huge. Is massive. A lot of people actually depend on an income from the tobacco industry, Peter.
There's no question about that, but let's look at the things in perspective. First of all, cigarettes are made by machines, not necessarily by people. When it comes to agriculture, there are alternative crops, more profitable crops than tobacco. And if we look at history, let's, for example, look at the Walkman, where you had a little cassette tape in a device and you could walk around with that playing music and other things. And then came the Discman. We don't have CDs anymore. What about the old fax machine? There were tens of thousands of people employed in the manufacturing of those machines and the distribution and the maintenance and the paper that you used to use in the fax machines. All that is gone. Those jobs have gone, but they've been replaced by other things. There is modern technology and advancement in science and industry and all sorts of things that create other jobs. Now, if tobacco disappeared today, the jobs today might disappear in the tobacco industry, but they would be created more jobs in the other industry, because the money that people spend on tobacco products doesn't disappear. That same money that you or any other smoker, sorry, I'm not suggesting that you are a smoker, but money that you and I spend if we were smokers on cigarettes, we would now spend on other things. And there'd be growth in those markets, in education, in housing, in clothing, in all sorts of consumables where that money would be spent, and it would create jobs there. and it would create income for government, that, all those sorts of things. The money doesn't disappear. It just shifts and creates jobs in other areas. If I can give you an example of the loss of jobs, it's a misleading statement that the industry and the allied people involved in the tobacco industry on the periphery, such as, for example, advertising. I was in Parliament in 1997 at public hearings about the then bill, which became law on the 1st of January 2001. In those public hearings, there were dozens of advertising agencies, newspapers, magazines, radio stations, TV stations. All those people said, we're going to go insolvent. Jobs will be lost. It's going to be a big catastrophe if you ban advertising of tobacco products. That's what they said then. They had reams and reams of documents, hundreds, thousands of pages explaining why the banning of advertising is going to be such a huge disaster and job losses. Agencies and magazines and newspapers and radio stations just closing down, folding, disappearing. Now, fast forward a couple of years when the next bill came out, and it was probably around about 2003 or 4. I can't remember the exact date. We were in Parliament again. There was not one magazine, not one newspaper, not one radio station, not one advertising agency. None of them were there to talk about job losses, because they knew in 1997, when they were talking about job losses and insolvencies, that they were at that time then, in retrospect, they realized they were not telling the truth. There were no job losses. So now let's look at the reality, for example, of the electronic nicotine delivery systems and all these exotic flavors and blowing huge plumes of smoke into the atmosphere. Fun for kids. Those kids who are now taking up electronic devices in droves are very likely, and the science and the research indicates that, are very likely to convert to combustible tobacco products. That's why we have to get rid of the electronic devices, because they lead to regular smoking. Now, what's going to happen if the whole electronic device industry disappears? Throw back 10 or 15 years. There were no jobs in that industry. Zero. The products didn't exist. The retail agencies didn't exist. The manufacturing, we have none in South Africa, of course, but none of that existed. So all those retail outlets, there were zero jobs. Now we say, oh, this industry created a lot of jobs. It also creates a lot of deaths. So let's face that reality. Now, if electronic devices disappeared, and again, it's not going to happen in 2 minutes or 2 years. If those devices disappear, and those jobs, in fact, do disappear, there will be other areas of creation of new jobs with the money that at the moment is spent, and let me say, wasted on these electronic devices, will be spent elsewhere, and we'll have more jobs, new jobs, other jobs, jobs that you didn't even imagine today existed, we'll have in the future. So we shouldn't be misled by the potential loss of jobs when we want to protect public health, and the bottom line is we want to save lives. It's as simple as that.
Peter, just I know submissions are open and they've been open since the 21st of June right till August. Have you made submissions?
No, not yet, but we are preparing our submissions, and we will be doing that. Our submission will be largely on the structure of the legislation itself, the wording in the law. That's where TAG is going to focus its attention. All the other issues of jobs and economics, for example, will be inputted, I'm sure, by REAP, which is situated in the University of Cape Town. It's the research on excisable products and tobacco and allied products. They will do all that input on research and job losses. There are other institutions, and cancer, for example, the African Tobacco Industry Monitoring Institute. All those academic organizations will make their inputs on the economics of tobacco control and the actual health issues on tobacco control and the deaths. There are many organizations that will deal with that. TAG is going to focus on the legislation itself and the wording, how to make it good, how to make it implementable, and how to make it work. That'll be our focus.
Well, Peter, we're going to watch a space, and 4th of August not very far off, so that's when submissions close. But I'm sure there'll still be a lot more to talk about over the next few months. But for now, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out and talking to us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. And thank you to Salam Media for your support. We really appreciate it.
CEO at the Tobacco, Alcohol and Gambling Advisory and Action Group, Peter Ucko, with us this morning against this new bill and the new tobacco law. And with it, the time is just got 10 a.m. I'm going to be signing off. It's been wonderful being in your company this morning on News and Views, as always. So, for myself and the team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.